Hello. I was in two minds about whether or not to do this video because I don't know that it was necessarily so successful last year. More of that to come. But here we are. I'm going to do it. So this is my top 22 TBR for 2022, i.e. the 22 books that I am, in the current moment, most excited to read this year. A little bit of a spoiler, I suppose, for my goals video is that I really want to try following the mood a bit more this year. So, for that reason, this might not necessarily stay the same because this is what I'm in the mood for right now. Doesn't necessarily mean I'm going to be in the mood for it in 6 months' time. So we'll see. What I am going to do is I'm just going to go through these books in the pile that they're next to me. I'll tell you my reasons as I go, and this is in no particular order. So the one that is at the top of the pile, simply because when I was collecting the books, this is the one that ended up at the top, Mad Ship by Robin Hobb, which is book 2 in the Live Ship Traders series. I read book 1 maybe a few months ago, really enjoyed it. No one's surprised. This is set in the realm of the Elderlings, so this is book 5 in the realm of the Elderlings, I believe. And as the name of the series might suggest, it is about life ships, i.e. ships that are sentient, which is cool. And there's magic, which is cool. And there's adventure, which is cool. And I just really want to continue with Robin Hobb because I've been enjoying her books, so that's why it's here. Then we have Drink, Slay, Love by Sarah Beth Durst, which is an author that I really do enjoy quite a lot. I interviewed her last year with Jessie from The Bookish Mum. This is a YA vampire story. I'll read you the synopsis actually. Pearl is a 16-year-old vampire, fond of blood, allergic to sunlight and mostly evil, until the night a sparkly unicorn stabs her through the heart with his horn. Oops. Her family thinks she was attacked by a vampire hunter because obviously unicorns don't exist, and they're shocked she survived, and even more so that Pearl can now withstand the sun. But they quickly find a use for her new talent. If Pearl enrolls in a high school, she can make lots of human friends and lure them to the Vampire King's feast as the entrees. The only problem? Pearl's starting to feel the twinges of conscience. How can she serve up her new friends, especially the cute guy who makes her fangs ache, to be slaughtered? Then again, she's definitely dead if she lets down her family. What's a sunlight-loving vamp to do? Which just sounds hilarious and super fun. So then we have Lauren James's release from 2021, which shockingly I haven't read yet, which is just, you know, it's really bad because I went out to buy this on release day. That's Green Rising by Lauren James. This is her first environmental fantasy. I'll read you this synopsis too. The power to save the planet is in their hands. See, look, it's a hand. Gabrielle, Theo and Hester have grown up in an ecological catastrophe. Climate change is making Earth uninhabitable, but when they join thousands of teenagers around the world in developing a strange new power, the ability to grow plants from their skin, it seems there may be hope for the planet after all. However, plenty of profit-hungry organisations would like to exploit these so-called green fingers for their own means. As Gabrielle, Theo and Hester battle to master their new ability and navigate first love and family expectations, can they outsmart the corporations and bring about a green rising? And it's Lauren James, so I want to read it and I want to prioritise it because I should have read it already, but I haven't, so it's on the list. Next is Blythrath Games by Amparo Ortiz, which is dragon fantasy, if it would ever focus for you. There we go, dragon fantasy and a competition trope. Need I say more? Next, a book that I recently hauled for myself, Plain Bad Heroines by Emily M. Danforth, which is based at a school that was shut because students died, and now there are actors and such on campus again to film a film about what happened there, and lo and behold, it starts happening again. And we're gonna find out why. Sounds fun. Do I like the sound of it because it's chunky? Yeah, kind of. Next we have the polar opposite, super, super short. We have Certain Dark Things by Silvia Moreno Garcia, which is also vampire based. Vampire basically teams up with a young street rat and they are on the run from the police in Mexico City. I don't really know why, but they are. Well, presumably because the vampire ate a bunch of people, but more specifically than that, I don't know why. Moving on to the next pile, because there are too many books for them to all fit in one pile, we have The Humans by Matt Haig. This is one that I've been wanting to read for absolutely ages. It's about an alien who has come to Earth to learn about humans and disguises themselves, I think originally as a dog and then as a human, to discover our ways. And it's supposed to be really funny. It's quite short and it just sounds fun, so I want to read it. The next one is a little bit of, well, I'm gonna say it's kind of a cheat, but it's kind of not. I'm giving myself, there are a few in here that are just an easy win. This is the first one because I am part of a buddy read for this trilogy in the first 3 months of this year, so this will happen, and that is Daughter of Smoke and Bone by Lani Taylor, which I've never read before. I really liked the Strange the Dreamer duology by Lani Taylor, and so I thought it was about time to get to this. I actually have no idea what this is about. Let's find out. In general, Karou has managed to keep her two lives in balance. On the one hand, she's a 17-year-old art student in Prague. On the other, errand girl to a monstrous creature who is the closest thing she has to family. Raised half in our world, half in elsewhere, she has never understood Brimstone's dark work, buying teeth from hunters and murderers, nor how she came into his keeping. She is a secret even to herself, plagued by the sensation that she isn't whole. Now the doors to elsewhere are closing and Karou must choose between the safety of her human life and the dangers of a nearly destroyed world that may hold the answers she has always sought. So that sounds kind of fun. It's giving me Cinderella, Beauty and the Beast type vibes. I don't know if that's a thing or if that's just me. Oh, is that an extra face? Look, there's a beast face. I've never noticed that before. Anyway, sounds fun. Next, because I feel like I noticed last year that I actually quite like mystery type, slightly dark stories, we have Dark and Shallow Lies by Ginny Myers Sane, which is based, well, basically the tagline is a missing girl, a town full of psychics, a secret that won't stay buried. I don't really want to know too much more about it than that. The cover definitely drew me in. It sounds like it's going to be atmospheric and mysterious and maybe a little bit creepy, and I've been getting on with that kind of thing recently, so let's carry it on. I'm actually going to bunch the next two together because I had a few spaces left on this list, and so I asked a few of my friends to pick books. So actually this one ended up here because of Joanna from Joanna Sosa. She said, why don't you put something you know you're going to read on there? Put this on there because we're reading it together in January. So there we go. And Abby from the channel Abby Salter told me I should put this book, The Heralds of Valdemar by Mercedes Lackey, which is actually a bind up of 3 books. Arrows of the Queen, Arrows Flight and Arrows Fall, but I'm just counting it as one because it's in one bind up. I bought this when we were together on a book shopping outing and she was like, why don't you put it on this list so that you actually read it? So that is what I did. Thank you, Abby. This is an epic fantasy about 13-year-old Talia who longs for a better life far away from her repressive stepmothers and the village of Sense-Holding, where books chronicling the adventures of the Heralds of Valdemar and their companions provide her only escape. But when her family decide she is to be married, Talia flees and stumbles upon one of the very companions, a legend, a magical steed with incredible powers. So we have magic horses in this? Yes, of course. Why not? And then the other book that a friend put on this list for me was my friend Jessie, who is not on YouTube, but she's been recommending me this book for a while now, a few years probably, and I do want to read it and I just haven't been getting to it, so I picked up a copy yesterday, and I've put it on this list so that I get around to it, and that is Magician by Raymond E. Feist, which, funnily enough, is about someone learning to be a magician. Shocking, isn't it? There's a war. He's an orphaned kitchen boy named Pug. No family, no prospects, but destined to become a master magician. And you know, it's one of those synopses that's very vague because it's an epic fantasy, but it's a nice chunky one, and Jessie loves it, and so I am going to give it a go. I trust her, so here it is. And then the next one is the continuation of a series. I read The Poppy War last year, really loved it, and so I'm popping The Dragon Republic on this list by R.F. Kuang so that I prioritise continuing this series because I really want to. I will tell you that The Poppy War is very dark. It's about a character named Rin who essentially goes to a military school, but there's also one teacher there who kind of teaches magic, but no one really, you know, he's the laughing stock of the faculty type of thing. And the series is, I would say loosely based on, but it's not really loosely based. It's based on the Opium Wars in China. Again, very brutal. Check the trigger warnings if you're tempted to pick it up. But I found the complexity of the characters and the interesting choices that they made really engaging, so I'm very keen to carry on with this series, with this second book. Next we have another Sarah Beth Durst book. This one is Even and Odd. This one is a middle grade story, and funnily enough there's a unicorn in this one too. So I guess Sarah Beth Durst loves unicorns, but who can blame her really? This one was a gift from my friend Jessie, who I interviewed Sarah with earlier in the year. Not earlier in the year, last year. And I'm really looking forward to reading this. I don't really know what it's about, but I kind of don't really want to, so I'm not going to read you the synopsis for this one. All I know is that there is a unicorn in it. I don't really need to know anything else, to be honest. It's Sarah Beth Durst. I'm going to read it. Next up we have Year of the Reaper by Micaiah Lucia. This one is, I think it's still fantasy, but it's a little bit on the darker side, and again, I've kind of been feeling that recently. So 3 years ago, Lord Cassier disappeared in the midst of war on a mission entrusted to him by the king. Since then, a devastating plague has swept the land, leaving countless dead and the kingdom forever altered. Having survived a rotting prison cell and a merciless illness, Kaz, now 18, wants only to return to his home in the mountains and forget past horrors. But home is not what he remembers. His castle has become a refuge for the royal court, and they have brought their enemies with them. When an assassin targets those close to the queen, Kaz is drawn into a search for a killer, one that leads him to form an unexpected bond with a brilliant young historian named Lena. Kaz and Lena soon realise that who is behind the attacks is far less important than why. They must look to the past, following the trail of a terrible secret, one that could threaten the kingdom's newfound peace, and plunge it back into war. So it's still fantasy, but it's kind of with a mystery plotline. So this just sounds really kind of fun, and it's actually quite short. How long is this? 321 pages, so pretty short for a fantasy. This next one is another easy win because this is the channel's buddy read for January, and that is Spin the Dawn by Elizabeth Lim, which follows a character who dresses up as a boy so that she can enter a competition to become the king's new tailor, and in doing so she gets sent on an adventure to track down the ingredients is not the word that I'm thinking of. Materials that she needs to make these dresses. So this one will definitely be being read very soon. Then we have Jade Fire Gold by C.L. Tan. This book is very, very pretty. Let me read you the synopsis. In an empire on the brink of war, Arn is no one with no past and no family. Alton is a lost heir, his future stolen away as a child. When they meet, Alton sees in Arn a path to reclaiming his throne. Arn sees a way to finally unlock her past and understand her lethal magical abilities, but they may have to pay a far deadlier price than either could have imagined. So I don't really know what it's about, but There's going to be romance in it, and the cover's pretty. There you go. My mood reading is happening this year. It is. Next up we have Vespertine by Margaret Rogerson. It is a very, very pretty fairy loot edition with a ribbon bookmark. You can just about see there. I don't know if there is a synopsis written here anywhere because it's a naked hardback. Let's see. No, I'm gonna have to look it up online. Okay, so the dead of Lorraine do not rest. Artemisia is training to be a Grey Sister, a nun who cleanses the bodies of the deceased so that their souls can pass on. Otherwise, they will rise as spirits with a ravenous hunger for the living. She would rather deal with the dead than the living, who trade whispers about her scarred hands and troubled past. When her convent is attacked by possessed soldiers, Artemisia defends it by awakening an ancient spirit bound to a saint's relic. It is a revenant, a malevolent being that threatens to possess her the moment she drops her guard. Wielding its extraordinary power almost consumes her, but death has come to Lorraine, and only a Vespertine, a priestess trained to wield a high relic, has any chance of stopping it. With all knowledge of Vespertine's lost to time, Artemisia turns to the last remaining expert for help, the Revenant itself. As she unravels the sinister mystery of saints, secrets and dark magic, her bond with the Revenant grows, and when a hidden evil begins to surface, she discovers that facing this enemy might require her to betray everything she has been taught to believe if the Revenant doesn't betray her first. Which sounds dark and mysterious and fun for me, but not the characters. Then we have A Marvellous Light by Freya Marske, which is also a very, very pretty book. Very pretty. A hidden world, a magical conspiracy, a thrilling romance. So it basically sounds a lot like A Winter's Orbit, which is one of my favourites from last year. And this one follows, what is his title? He becomes a parliamentary liaison to a secret society, and then, so that's Robin Blythe, and then Robin Blythe has to team up with Edwin Kersey, who his let me just read you the synopsis for this one too. I'm sorry if this video is really boring. Young Baronet Robin Blythe was already in a spot of bother. He's struggling to be a decent older brother and a responsible employer, and to rescue the estate ravaged by his late parents' excesses. Then an administrative mistake appoints him parliamentary liaison to a secret society, and he discovers magic lies beneath the reality he's always known. Soon Robin must contend with magic's dangers as well as its beauty, for as he tries to find his missing predecessor, he attracts a deadly curse. To navigate these hazards, he'll need the help of Edwin Kersey, his prickly magical society counterpart, but his aloof associate clearly wishes Robin were anyone and anywhere else. Drawn together by unexpected perils, Robin and Edwin will discover a mystery as old as the power that binds the land, a plot that threatens every magician in the British Isles, and a secret that some have already died to keep. I think I've said this before, it really sounds like a mixture of Winter's Orbit and Jonathan Strange and Mr. Norrell, and those were two of my favourites from last year, so sounds great. And the very last book on this list that I currently have a copy of, because the other three books on this list either aren't out or I don't have a copy of yet, is Little Thieves by Margaret Owen, which is another very, very pretty book. This one also sounds great. Once upon a time, there was a horrible girl. Cool. Vanya Schmidt knows that no gift is freely given, not even a mother's love. The adopted goddaughter of Death and Fortune, Vanya has long made her own way in the world as the dutiful servant of Princess Giselle, until a year ago when her otherworldly mothers demanded payment for their care, and Vanya decided to steal her future back by stealing Giselle's life. With the help of an enchanted string of pearls, Vanya transformed into her former mistress and took her place, leaving the real Giselle a penniless nobody. Now Vanya leads a lonely but lucrative double life as princess and jewel thief, charming the nobility while emptying their coffers to fund her great escape. Until one heist away from freedom, Vanya crosses the wrong god and is cursed to turn into jewels stone by stone. With a feral guardian half-god, Giselle's sinister fiancé, and an over-eager junior detective on her tail, Vanya has just 2 weeks to pull off her biggest grift yet, or she risks losing more than her freedom. She could lose her life. And it's a Goose Girl retelling, which may mean more to you than it does to me, because I don't know the story of Goose Girl, so oh well, but it sounds great. So the other three, the one that is already out but only in hardback, and I want the paperbacks and it matches the rest of the series that I have, is Wayfarer's Book 4 by Becky Chambers, The Galaxy and the Ground Within. So I do want to read that one this year, but I just won't pick up a copy of it until it's available in paperback, which I think is somewhere in the middle of the year. And then the two that aren't out yet are The Lost Metal, which is the 4th book in Era 2 of Mistborn by Brandon Sanderson, of course, and also Lachlan's, which is the 3rd and final book in the Founders trilogy by Robert Jackson Bennett. So you kind of got a little bit of a sneak peek of my most anticipated of the year also. But yeah, those 3 books are also on this list, but just not in physical form as yet. And that is it. 22 books that I would like to read this year. Hopefully I'll get to them. We shall see. I feel like eventually we'll have to stop doing the something books to read in the year 20 something, because we're going to get to, like, I mean, 23, 24, 25, 26, where does it end? You know, that's a lot of books. That's a lot of books. Anyway, I'm rambling now. That's it for this one. Thank you so much for watching. If you like this video and want to see more like this from me, then do think about hitting that subscribe button, and I hope to see you here again soon. Thanks. Bye.